we're going. We're going.
Gene, there was a little bit of a conversation after the game. The roughing the passer that Cedric Gray was called for. What was kind of your perspective on that, and just kind of what happened there?
Yeah, that was tough. I felt like that was a really critical part in the game. Those are judgment calls, obviously, right? So, when you get to the roughing the passers and the targeting and things of that nature, there's always going to be some people see it one way, some people see it another. But they made the call, and we have to live with that. And we have to do a better job of when we get guys in those positions, making sure, because it was an effort play on his part. He was just really fighting and clawing and scratching and trying to get his hand up and knock a ball down. And so, we just got to teach from that clip, right? We got to teach, when you get into that position, how can we finish that better and not put ourselves in a position to get a penalty. So it was tough. That could have been a huge part in the game in terms of going into halftime. But we got to teach and we got to learn from it.
Is there any point in turning those into the league office, Gene? Like, is that? I mean, I know they're not going to come back and say okay, you guys win the game because we were wrong. But like, is there a point in turning that in and just filing of, making yourselves heard in some ways? I don't know.
No, I think we do a good job of communicating with the league office on different things that, we just want to get clarity on. I think that's the main thing, right? So they do a very good job of, if we reach out to them and say, hey, give us some clarity on this call. What could we have done better? How, tell us more about how this unfolds. They do a good job with that. And, in those exchanges, they happen with everybody. Everybody will communicate with the league office and say, hey, on these particular calls right now, just help us out. Let us teach our guys better. So it's not going to, give you any satisfaction or, with whatever their response is, one way or the other. You just really usually want clarity on it. And, so we've done that, and they've done a good job of responding and giving us clarity so we can teach our guys.
How do you process a game in which you had 6 3-and-outs that you forced? They were 6 for 19 on third down, yet they still run 92 plays and get 466 yards. I would imagine there's half of that you look at and say, wow, that's phenomenal defense. And the other half, how do you process that?
Yeah, that's really a very interesting dynamic, right? And we talked about that yesterday to the defense. A lot of times you can read cold, hard stats and they say one thing, but it doesn't always necessarily tell the story. The first thing I want to say is that I was extremely proud of the way our guys fought the entire game. They fought the entire game. It wasn't always pretty. We had our warts for sure, but we did do some things that we felt good about. And I think the first 6 possessions we were 3-and-out 4 times, and we were playing really hard. And we had some opportunities to get those turnovers. Maybe without that penalty. And we played better in the low red area when they were driving the ball down there. And we hadn't played great there the last several weeks, but we made some stops down there. Right, we got a turnover down there that was huge. There was, if you look at just the entirety of the entire game, there was a couple of drives there that just went too long, and it was, mistakes on our part. When you start getting into 11-play drives, which they had 2 of those, you're taking the ball and you're limiting, the opportunities to give to your offense, which we have a great offense. So we have to do a better job of being more consistent and not giving those guys 11 and 12-play drives, and that's going to be the key to this week, right? We have to be able to try to get out and get some 3-and-outs. We have to be able to play good on third down, which we weren't perfect on third down. But when you're winning right around 70% of your third downs, I'll take that. So, they fought hard, they played hard. We weren't perfect, but there was times where we really executed well. But more than anything, just really proud of the effort and really proud of the resolve of our guys all the way through. Even when it didn't look good at the end, they were still playing. So, in those games, you go for it a lot on fourth down because you're on the road and you're going to do things that, you have to do to be aggressive. And sometimes what comes with that is that you're on the field a little bit more than, maybe you had anticipated. But it's a good mix, right? Some of it was to our own, it was of our own doing, and then some of it was just the circumstances of the game. So, but when we get out there, we have to deliver.
To stay on that, you mentioned the 11-play drives. They had one at the end. Had some controversial stuff on that drive where they ran 11 plays in 71 seconds and didn't have any timeouts. How do you, I imagine it's a different scheme to keep the ball on the field of play, to use a little bit more clock. So if there is, what went wrong there, aside from maybe some of the controversial calls?
Basically that, us being able to keep the ball in bounds. They did a good job of getting the ball out of bounds. A couple of missed tackles in there that, when they're getting first downs, that stops the clock, right? So, and the ball was, on the perimeter some and getting out of bounds as well. We have to do a better job in that scenario. And we had a couple penalties as well that kind of added to that. So, again, when you look at those drives, that situationally being an 11-play drive in a short amount of time, you can always look back into things that we have to do better in terms of execution, in terms of being disciplined at those times with penalties and things of that nature, and we didn't do a good job in that particular time.
Gene, looking at NC State, obviously Brennan Armstrong's a guy that you guys have some familiarity with, but they've had a lot of uncertainty on that side of the ball this season with some quarterback changes, but it seems like they've put it all together now. What can you say about how that team has grown?
Yes, you got to give them a lot of credit for what these last couple of weeks have looked like. I think they've taken the strength of Armstrong, and they realize that, one of the parts of the equation for them to succeed is for him to be able to run the football. So he's now like another tailback. Obviously, he can throw it, and we all know he can throw it from his past and, some of the success that he's had. But now there's a really... they've made a conscientious effort to create ways to get him in the run game. And as you know, when you use the quarterback in the run game, that's really kind of a +1 scenario when you use him as a tailback, because now the tailback or whoever's back there can be the blocker. So now they're doing a good job of getting numbers where they want numbers, and they're creating new ways to do it every week, and it's made it tough, and they're doing it out of different personnel groupings. But what has it done? It's allowed them to get first downs. It's allowed them to have win the time of possession battle huge, just in getting first downs and methodically running the football. And he's not the only one that can run it, right? But the lion's share of what they're trying to do with him makes sense. They are running him. They're doing a great job with Concepcion, moving him around and doing different things with him. And they still have a pass game. Let's not forget that he can throw the football, and he's very good at it. So I think they've kind of found their niche. I think they've found what is really going to work, that plays great complementary football with their defense. And they've hit it on all strides.
Is Anai their offensive coordinator? Is he a guy that you've met, coached against in the past?
Yeah, no, I don't know him. I know he does a really, really good job. I've been very impressed in the last 2 days of watching the way this has evolved from, let's say, week 5, with the different quarterbacks in and out, and how that all unfolded, and then all of a sudden now it's back to Armstrong again, and the way they've changed a little bit on what they've done with him from the beginning of the season to the end, again, in the effort to win games, what works best with him and what is a very good defense as well. So they found it. They found their stride with it. They're having success with it, especially the last 2 weeks. If you look at the rush yards, I think Wake Forest was almost 200, and then last week was 200 plus. So really, it's challenging for sure.
I was going to ask, in looking at the state offense on video on tape, I mean, how many times does 10 show up?
Oh, a lot.
Plays?
Yeah, 10 is a really, really good player. I mean, he's a young guy. You can tell that they have said, hey, we're going to find ways to get you the ball, and it's going to be multiple ways to do it. I think they do a great job of moving him around to different places. Sometimes he's a running back, sometimes he's a wideout, sometimes he's a jet sweep guy. They can use him in gadget plays, but he can go down in the backfield as a tailback and get downhill tough yards. So he's a very multiple guy, and they do a great job of moving around. You can't always tell where he is. You have to always be aware of where he is, but you never know where he's going to line up. He could line up starting here, and then he ends up in the backfield. He's starting in the backfield, and he ends up over here. So, but he's a really good football
Threw
player.
a touchdown pass.
He's pretty much done it all.
You've hit on this already a little bit, but when you're scouting against Brennan, it seems like he's a totally different player these past 2 weeks than the beginning of the year when he was starting. Can you even consider or look at much of the tape that he had early on in the season versus these last 2 weeks where, like you said, they're using him in different ways? It seems like he's kind of more comfortable in the offense now.
Yeah, we are. We're looking at everything. You have to go back and see what changed from then to now. I think the big piece for quarterbacks is confidence, right? I mean, let's be honest. They're having success. He ran for 100 and some change last week, which really takes the pressure off him some as a passer. He's a tough guy. He's physical. Even when we played him last year when he was at Virginia, man, he was a tough downhill runner, great escapability in the pocket, but he's making quick throws. He's getting the ball out of his hands fast. And he's confident in the pass game. So the concepts that they've given him and him feeling comfortable with where everybody is really, it's really apparent. So you got a guy right now at the end of the season in game 12 playing very confident as a thrower, as throwing the football, as a passer, and then what he's able to bring to the game, as a runner. And I think all of that's coming together, and he's feeling good right now. He's very confident, and he should be.
Gene, are you guys able to take away anything defensively that you did against Syracuse with that other dual threat quarterback, Garrett Schrader, or are the offenses just too different?
That's a great question. There are some similarities on what they try to do with him. The way they're using him now is a little different than the way they used Schrader early in the season. The difference mainly is that in this game with him as a runner, they're always trying to get you down one defender. So they have one play working this way with him on the option to keep the ball and run another play in the opposite direction, which splits the defense apart. And now you have to make sure you have numbers over there, which Saturday against Virginia Tech, they did a great job of getting what we call +1 on one side where everybody's blocked and now somebody has to come off a block and make the tackle to tackle the quarterback. You don't ever want that. You always want to have enough guys to take on the blocks and then another guy to fit the quarterback. But that's the strains of what they make you do right now. And so that's where it's a little different than Syracuse. It wasn't quite like that for him. But that's why this has been very effective the last couple of weeks. And they create new ways to do it, and they create it out of new formations. So it's hard to recognize when it's coming.
So what discipline is most important to alleviate some of that?
Well, making sure that your eyes are in the right spots right now because what happens is on one side there's usually some kind of pull game. So linemen are coming one way where you have an option to get him on that side, the quarterback on that side with the offensive lineman. So everybody's got to be conscientious of, here's pullers, here's guys coming over. So we have to get our fitters over there. And then you have another run play designed that goes on the opposite side and making sure that, okay, those pullers aren't my job. My job is to set the edge of the defense over here. So they have to coincide. And they have to, you have to recognize what they're trying to do. It's concepts, and you have to recognize those concepts, and you have to be able to play the concepts out on your side. So it's challenging.
So striking blocks is always important, but I would imagine with this, it's even magnified even more.
Oh, 100%. And being able, because there's going to be times in the game, it happened a bunch Saturday, where, look, we didn't get enough guys over there for whatever reason. Maybe we had a pressure on and we were thinking we were going to hit it, and they have the great call at the right time. Somebody's got to come off a block and make a play on the ball. So you won't always be perfect, but that's that's why you have to be able to strike blocks, get off blocks, and everybody stay active. And having all guys, everybody's eyes have to be inside right now to see what's going on collectively in the middle of the defense. But sometimes when that didn't happen Saturday, there were big plays on it.
Gene, you had the good line when you came back to coaching that you had to clear your wife first, and you guys talked about it over the breakfast table or whatever it was. It was a very nice anecdote. did you say to yourself or to her or to your family, like, look, I'm gonna give this X amount of years and then reassess after, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Like, was that part of your thought about getting back into coaching that I'm gonna give it this number of years?
Not really. You know, we make decisions as a family and we roll with those decisions. Not really ever trying to put it in a box and put timelines on anything, none of that. We do what we feel is best, and when we took this 2 years ago, we were taking it for the long haul. So we don't really think that way. We've had a lot of success and a lot of fun here in the last 2 years, so you know, this is what we want to do.
I asked because, you know, last time was a 2-year thing and you were gone, so.
Right. Yeah, again, we don't ever kind of think that way. We just make decisions and go with them and see where life takes us, for sure.
Good time for one more.
Gene, on the depth issue, it looked like Maury Campbell flashed, I think he got 3 snaps, made a good play earlier, but he didn't really get back out there. Came in 90 snaps, said all in 90 snaps. Where's that effort to get more guys reps that you talked about?
Yeah, it is. We did a poor job with that. He came in and he really played well. He played well early. We said we were going to get him in on the 3rd series. We did that. He played well, and we have to do a better job at it. I know I've said that up here probably 2 or 3 times, not just with him, but with some other guys as well. But we need to do a better job of that.
What's the mechanism as far as, I mean, I know it's hectic and everything's going on, but who says 17, get in? You know, how does
Well, I have to be conscientious of everybody, and, you know, I have to be conscientious of reps during the game. You know, so everything starts with me, just being, you know, cognizant of who's playing how many snaps, and we do talk about that depth-wise. You know, the hardest thing is as the games rock on and they're close, and you know, and you're always wanting to get your best guys out there, but as we know, you know, your best guys out there might not be your best guys at the end of the game if they've played that many snaps, and we know that. And so we can do a better job with that. Ultimately, it falls on me, but collectively, you know, everybody's got to be involved in it.
Was there a reason LaValle got in there when Sid got poked in the eye, or was that just somebody thick pin grabbed him and threw him in there? Like, was that a reward for?
No, we don't just grab dudes and throw them in. He's a guy that I feel like is really come on the last few weeks, because what happened was he was hurt in fall camp, and we had really planned on repping him and see if we could really develop him so that mid-year, you know, he could be a guy that could be ready to go. And then we lost a ton of reps with him, you know, from I think fall camp all the way through, I don't know, probably 5.
And he didn't enroll early either.
No,
Yeah,
and he came in the summer, and that was a big deal because he wasn't in spring practice. But we know he's a very talented guy, and what we've seen is that we've repped him a lot the last couple of weeks in practice, and he's shown a lot of improvement. And he's starting to catch on to all the things that you have to be productive at in the defense. And so when that happened, it was a no-brainer. I mean, he had been working with Sed all week. Literally, Sed had been coaching him all week on the reps where Sed wasn't in there. I mean, he followed him around and he coached him on everything. And we think he's going to be a really, really good player, but that was strictly by design.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Y'all have a great year.
Appreciate it.
We always appreciate this. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you all.